Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Hey, what's made the news the past couple of weeks actually is the revamping or revisiting of the Department of Education's program holistically, looking at the programs in general. But what has made the news and some controversy is the overhaul of the Chamorro language and cultural program in DOE. And I have, of course, the administrator of the Chamorro Cultural and Language Program is Mr. Ron Laguana. Avade. And also Mr. Jimmy Teria, who is the program specialist, right? Or yeah, yeah, Chamorro language specialist. So, good evening, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and start off and talk about the holistic look at the task force that was formed, the governor's task force, and looking at holistically looking at Department of Education's and their deliverables and programs, be it teacher evaluations, principles, and programs that are in place to evaluate the programs, whether or not they're working, and if they're working, how can they better work, and if things are not working, what can we do in required subject matters to improve that, whether it's the teacher shortfall, classroom shortfall, whatever it be. As a program administrator, your thoughts on that?
So just want to say, Jesse, first for having us here, and we welcome the support and the assistance from the reform and possible recommendations. For years, the program has been so to speak, not fully supported. I've been there for some time, ever since Catilde Gould, a former administrator, the late Catilde Gould, Bill Paulino, Ann Rivera, and now myself. And the term overhaul was a very
overhaul. Right?
Overhaul. Well, that's a mechanical term. Maybe we should have just used words with educational terms which are more positive. As educational leaders, we should just use maybe analyze, assess, evaluate. Words from or positive sense. From Bloom's taxonomy, those are educational words that we try to promote to educate students, and that described, it really brought controversy among a lot of our people that I've been receiving phone calls that really hurt, and not only the educational system, but as well as the Chamorros themselves. But we welcome the reform efforts, and we just would like to find out what recommendations and plans that would promote and perpetuate the language further and provide assistance in these endeavors.
Now, let me ask you: how long has the Chamorro language been a required course of study within the Department of Education? As required, students have to take this. How long is it?
Well, that's been over about since the 14th Guam legislature in the 1970s. Public Law 14-53.
So
maybe about
40 years, something like that.
Yeah, probably 30 years or something.
Yeah, okay. Now let me ask you, you said, of course, you were there since Mrs. Gould was there and all that, and you definitely didn't start off as the administrator.
That's right.
You worked your way up to the administrative position.
Yes.
Okay. Now let me talk about your tenure in the Chamorro language and culture program. When you were handed off as the handoff to run the program, what have you put into the program? What are Ronald Laguana's achievements in your tenure as the program administrator?
Well, first of all, let me explain that I have 10 years experience in teaching, and I know what it's like to effectuate the teaching of the Chamorro language and culture with minimal resources and minimal support. But during my tenure here, the successes that we have done recently was the approval of the newly revised content standards and performance indicators that we have here. With me, we are developing 8 standardized textbooks that will be aligned with those standards. Along with that, we have also developed the standardized assessments, standards-based assessments for those, and those will measure the outcomes. However, we need to look at the program for the weaknesses and the challenges are as a result of this decentralization of our authority, where we don't have the authority to formally observe and monitor the progress of these Chamorro language teachers. That's the sole responsibility of the school principal. But many of these school principals lack the educational background in second language acquisition theories and methodologies, as well as the Chamorro language. They try to impose the least effective method of instruction, which is the translation method, and that's the least, because the kids will just wait for you to speak Chamorro, and then he'll just wait for you to translate.
You know, that's an interesting thought, but we have to take a break, and I want to hear more about the accountability that you have with the Chamorro instruction, because they're basically under your guidance, but not necessarily in the school site.
Well,
anyway, we'll come back to that, okay? We're going to take a break and then come back to that interesting point of view. We'll be right back.